Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kinsey if you don't know already, and welcome. Today we are doing a unedited, so we're gonna see how this goes, but we're doing an unedited, clearly it's going phenomenal already, Q&A, just about solo travel, solo female travel. I have my dog right down here. I will actually show you guys her in 1 second, but yeah. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and give me a big thumbs up on this video. It would truly mean a ton to me. So yeah, let's get right into the video. So of course we have the road dog with me. There's people right in front of me. So of course she is just absolutely eyeing them down. So she's here. Sometimes she'll be hiding down, scouting low, but don't worry, road dog is here. So yeah, let's get right into the questions. So I'm at a construction site right now. So I'm praying that they don't start working on the ground, because then I'm going to have to move and go find a new spot. So in the meantime, let's just get right into the video. If you don't follow me on my social media, I will leave the link down below inside the description. Go follow me on my Instagram and TikTok. I am plenty active on those platforms. I'm trying to get more active on YouTube, so I'm trying. It's a work in progress, but I am committing to putting out more videos. So a lot of people constantly ask me the million-dollar question: if you are a solo traveler or a solo female traveler. I feel like the female thing kind of gets just a bigger rap on it, because so many people will ask me, like, why do you prefer to travel alone? Why would you travel alone? Are you ever scared? Are you lonely? Have you ever feared for your life while you're out on the road? And let me just preface too, I'm not on the road like full time, by no means. Like, I just tend to travel alone. I tend to go everywhere alone. So my first question that I get pretty often is, what made me start doing this? What made me start traveling alone? And honestly, I'm somebody that I love the outdoors. I have always loved the outdoors. I would tell everyone, like, if I'm sad or if I'm, like having a horrible day or if I'm pissed off, like, I'm the type of person, I just want to go outside. I just want to go on a walk. I want to go on a hike. I want to go, see a new area. For whatever reason, that's kind of been my safety net and my, like, moments where I feel like most at peace is being outdoors. So for me, is once I started fully kind of considering, like, hey, am I going to start, traveling more by myself? I previously would go with friends and that whole thing, but I really considered it once I got my dog. She truly is like my best friend. So for me, I don't really feel alone because I have her. So I would take, like, of course, day trips. I would, go on hikes with my dog alone. And, I would hear from my parents all the time, like, be careful, make sure you're carrying this, make sure you're carrying that, like, watch your surroundings, which I think is also, like, all of that is, like, so true and so important. And I'll actually touch on that a little bit later. But for me, I just got started because I knew how deeply, like, how much passion I had for being outdoors. And once I got the dog, everything kind of just like a puzzle piece just went together for me. And we ended up taking a road trip out to Utah. We got in the car and we just drove. I think it was like 11 hours, and we, took different stops along the way. And I think in that trip, I learned so much about myself. It was truly like one of the first trips that, like, I was completely solo. And I think in that trip, it allowed me to allowed me to gain so much confidence in myself. And you really do feel, like, very empowered by the end of it. I think for me, like, that had so much to do with it, is just the belief that I had in myself at the end of it, of, like, hey, you can do this. You can do what a lot of people say don't do because it's scary or it's dangerous, or, just like, hey, it's not the smartest thing to be a female traveling. But when you go in, like, with the tools for, like, success, and you don't let fear, stop you from, like, doing what you want to do. That was my biggest thing. That was my biggest accomplishment, is because I listened to so many people, outside people getting inside of my head of, like, oh, this can happen in this. And it truly kind of held me back for a little bit of, like, what I actually wanted to do. So it wasn't until I kind of took the jump and I tried to set myself up for success the best I could. Obviously, I would look overly into different places, and I would kind of scout out the area before I obviously parked. I would make sure that I'm, like, prepared just in case, like I like to say, crap happens. I want to be best prepared. Another question that I get a lot is, do I get lonely? Do I get lonely being on these trips, and yada, yada, yada. Truth is, sometimes yes. But more often than not, I actually don't. Like I said, Havana truly helps me so much. I don't really feel alone when I have her because she is a lot and she's a lot of work. So for me, I'm kind of just, like, paying attention to her a lot of the time. But I think there's something beautiful about being comfortable being alone. And that's something that I really had to work on. It wasn't something that just came natural to me. I had to really, be intentional with that. And I would, go out on the hikes, or I would get a book, or I'd listen to a podcast, or I would just truly just sit in my own thoughts at times, or I would go build a campfire, or just all those things that kind of showed me like, hey, you can enjoy being alone. You don't have to always have someone with you. Sure, that's great. And that's obviously comes with its own, positives, but at the same time, you should be comfortable alone. Another question that I get a lot is, what age would I recommend for starting out on solo traveling? And I don't feel like there's a picture perfect age for that. I don't think if you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that you can't benefit from it. I actually recommend to anyone, even if they don't want to, constantly go on solo trips, I recommend just going on one trip by yourself, because I think for anybody that it will benefit them, and that you'll leave that trip feeling, gaining a lot more tools and knowledge moving forward, and also just getting more confident in yourself. That's the biggest thing. And I don't think, whether you're a female or male, or like I said, you're in your early adulthood or your middle age, I think that everyone can benefit from it. So yeah, I don't feel like there's a picture perfect age. I think that if you kind of get the itch to just travel by yourself, I say go for it. You're going to hear that little thing in your ear telling you probably not, but push past that. Another question that I get pretty often is, am I ever scared? Do I feel fear while going on trips alone? And I definitely do. I'm gonna be honest, there's times where I get to a certain place and instantly I just feel, you get kind of like the wave of just oh shoot, it's just me here, I'm by myself. If something goes wrong, all I can rely on is me. But I'm confident in the fact of I am well prepared. I do know what to do in case something does happen. But there's times, I definitely feel fear, and I definitely have to push myself past that point. Because if not, I think that it'll, cheat me out of a great opportunity for me, or it'll cheat me out of a great trip where I can learn, so much more about myself. I'm also somebody that does a ton of research before I do go on a trip, and mainly because obviously safety reasons first. I try to, like I said, know my surroundings. I try to be overly prepared. I try to know what's around the area, and obviously if I have service or no service, and I do try to get places that I have service just in case. But another big reason is my dog Havana is not a huge fan of people. So that does kind of put a roadblock in a lot of my traveling that I'd like to do, but at the same time I want to respect her and respect her boundaries and what she's comfortable with, and I don't want to push her past that. But I also, when I'm booking places or I'm going on the road to go find a place, I do have to consider I do have a dog that isn't a huge fan of crowds and a bunch of things going on and loud noise. So that's another reason why I obviously take into consideration of where I'm going ahead of time. I'm also somebody that does a ton of research before I do go on a trip, and mainly because obviously safety reasons first. I try to, like I said, know my surroundings. I try to be overly prepared. I try to know what's around the area, and obviously if I have service or no service, and I do try to get places that I have service just in case. But another big reason is my dog Havana is not a huge fan of people. So that does kind of put a roadblock in a lot of my traveling that I'd like to do. But at the same time, I want to respect her and respect her boundaries and what she's comfortable with, and I don't want to push her past that. But I also, when I'm booking places or I'm going on the road to go find a place, I do have to consider I do have a dog that isn't a huge fan of crowds and a bunch of things going on and loud noise. So that's another reason why I obviously take into consideration of where I'm going ahead of time. So that's all the questions that I'm going to answer for this video. If you guys want a part 2, go ahead and let me know down below, or if you have other questions, comment them down below, or like I said, go reach out to me on social media. You can message me over there. But I would love to do a part 2. I know that there's a ton of other questions that I could have answered and kind of just touch base on. So let me know. Like I said, if you're new here, please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up on this video, and me and Havana will see you guys in our next adventure. Peace.